Welcome to Jazz Time. JazzTime.com is an online store that buys, sells, trades authentic luxury watches. We make these videos so our customers can easily choose the best watch for themselves in the comfort of their own home. If you like this watch and would like to purchase it at the lowest price anywhere online, click on the link in the description below to buy it at JazzTime.com. Today, I'm going to be reviewing the Rolex Datejust 41 in stainless steel and white gold, reference 126334, with a blue fluted motif dial, and fluted bezel on Oyster Bracelet. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the history of this watch, then talk to you about where it stands in the lineup of other ones in its similar class, then talk to you about the case, bezel, dial, bracelet, movement, and finally try it on and give you my thoughts. So let's start. The Datejust is with the history. The Datejust is Rolex's most iconic, most famous, and most popular line. They make the most Datejusts of any other category of watches that they make, and rightfully so. It has the longest history, and it's the most recognizable watch that Rolex makes. The Datejust made its debut onto the world stage when it was worn on the wrist of a woman who swam the English Channel, the entire length of it, wearing a Rolex Datejust, an Oyster Datejust, hence the name Oyster, being an impenetrable watch to the water and can be worn in many different situations. Oyster being a name that conjures up both class and beauty, but also the hard shell of a oyster. And back then, not all watches were waterproof. This watch, showing that it could be swam across the English Channel, was a big deal back then. Okay, so that's the Datejust. Now, Rolex makes the Datejust in many different sizes, as you can imagine, since it's their most popular line. They make it in size 28, 31, and 36 millimeter for women. That's small, medium, large. And then for men, they make it in size 36 and 41 for Datejust, but they also make a very similar watch in 42, which almost is like a Datejust. It's actually called a Sky Roller, but it looks just like a Datejust. So you can consider 36, 41, 42 as small, medium, large for men as well. This one being the Datejust 41 would be the larger of the two sizes and can be worn by most men, I would say, with a wrist size of 7 inches or larger. Okay, and if you have maybe an 8-inch wrist or larger, you probably should go with a Datejust 42, which also can be known as a Sky Roller. Okay, but this is the Datejust 41. Now, the Datejust 41, as you can imagine, also comes in many different shapes and sizes. They make it in different materials, dials, bezels, bracelets, etc. There's like almost 100 different variations of the watch. This one in particular that we're looking at right here is going to be all stainless steel with a fluted bezel and blue fluted motif. And I'm going to get into some things that make it special in just a moment. So that's where it stands with the lineup. Now it's time to talk about the case. The case is 41 millimeters. That's from my thumb to my index finger, the 8 o'clock to the 2 o'clock position, the longest distance across the bezel. That's 41 millimeters. Now if I turn it on its side and you look at the side profile, the watch has approximately 12 millimeters in profile, which is a good thickness. It's not too thin, not too thick. It's quite a nice profile, and I would actually consider it the standard of watches because it has just the right size in terms of diameter to fit a larger wrist or medium to large wrist, but it also has a good thickness. Now, you don't want the watch too thick and you don't want it too thin, and 12 millimeters is the perfect balance between all that. Okay, now the case itself is made out of stainless steel. It's a monoblock middle case with a screw down case back and winding crown. All that means is the case itself was made out of a singular piece of stainless steel, and that steel is 904L steel, which is the hardest, most anti-corrosive, best steel that you can make a watch out of. And of course, Rolex being the premier watchmaker, I would call them number one in the watch industry. Without Rolex, I don't even think the watch industry could hardly exist without them. So certainly the gray market could not exist without them. But at any rate, it makes sense that Rolex would use the best steel known to man. Okay, that's the case. Now let's talk about the bezel. The bezel, they only make the stainless steel in a dome bezel, which is without the fluting, or this fluted bezel that you see here. Now, the fluted bezel is the most iconic bezel. It used to have a waterproof feature to it. Now it's just used for aesthetics, but it's a very beautiful aesthetic. In fact, I would say that it's the most recognizable part of this Rolex and anyone who sees it can instantly recognize that it's a Rolex. In fact, it's so recognizable and iconic that they duplicated this motif, as you would call it, on the dial, which I'll get to when I get to it. So the bezel is very beautiful, as you see it, and it's actually made of white gold. So that's the portion that is white gold. Now they call this watch steel and white gold. The part that is actually white gold is the bezel. The rest of the watch is all stainless steel. Okay, now you might be wondering, well, what other bezels I've seen on a diamond bezel? Well, Rolex does not make their stainless steel and white gold on a diamond bezel. In fact, they don't make diamond bezels for any of the Datejust 41, but we've had a number of requests for those. So those who want to put a diamond bezel on it to make it look just a little bit more fancy, or even make it kind of look like a day-date almost, then we can do that at Jazz Time, and you can we can just simply take off this bezel and put on a new one. Okay, now that is the bezel. Now let's move on to the dial here. The dial is quite a special dial. It just recently came out. I think it came out in 22 or 23. This is what's called a fluted motif, and it's a graphical interpretation of the bezel fluting that is on this bezel. It actually is made to look just like the bezel. Okay, normally you have just a flat sunray finish. This one has a sunray finish along with this sort of motif. If you look closely at these little motifs, it's actually just a duplication of the bezel. So it looks quite beautiful. To me, it doesn't look like too much. It doesn't look like too little. It adds some flavor to it while still maintaining, this blue color. So you can't see it unless you look very closely. It's very nice, actually. I like it. Okay, now let's move on to the bracelet. Now this bracelet is a classic Oyster bracelet. Rolex makes the bracelet in either Jubilee or Oyster. The Oyster has 3-piece links across, and the links themselves are bigger. Now, why would you want that? It makes the watch look just a little bit more sporty. When you have the links further apart like this, it looks more like a sports watch. Why do I say that? Well, if you look at any of the Rolex sports watches, aside from the GMT, you'll see that all of them have the Oyster bracelet in some variation. Why? Because that makes the watch just look more sporty. Now, they also make it on a Jubilee, but that's going to make it look much more dressy, which, it depends on you which one you want. Okay, so if you want it in Jubilee, we also have it in Jubilee, but this one is in Oyster. Okay, so when the blue came out, it was a smash hit 10 years ago. And now they've sort of brought back the blue one, but they brought it back with this twist, which is this fluted motif that you see here. And I forgot to mention, the good thing about this blue dial is that it has the index markers. Now you might wonder, why would you want index versus, for example, Roman? Well, these index, if I shine a light at it, you can see that it can be seen at night. Whereas Roman dial, they used to make Roman dials a long time ago, like I would say more than 10 years ago. They stopped doing that. Why, I'm not exactly sure, but if I had to guess, just a practical aspect is that you can't read the watch at night. So that is kind of a negative, and it doesn't look as clean. I think it looks much better like this. Okay, let's move on to the movement here. Well, I forgot to mention the bracelet has this 5mm comfort extension. It allows you to change the bracelet with, or not with, the length without using any tools. Now the movement here, let's move on to the movement, is a caliber 3235. It's the latest movement. It has a power reserve of 70 hours. It's a very good movement. So not much to say about it. Okay, let's go ahead and try this watch on my wrist. Now I'm 6 foot tall, I'm 200 pounds, and the watch has it fits quite well on me. I have a 7.5-inch wrist. Now I would suggest this watch for those people who are starting their collection with Rolex and would like a entry-level watch, but entry-level for Rolex is still a very high-end watch. It's still a very beautiful watch. It can be worn in many situations, such as a dress wear or even kind of borderline sports. I wouldn't say real sports, but the Datejust is a dress watch, but being on this Oyster makes it a little bit more sporty, so you could wear it in that situation. All right, anyways, if you'd like to buy this watch, click on the link in the description below to buy it at jazztime.com at the lowest price anywhere online.
If you want to find out more about the watch you just saw in the video, you can just click below on Show More to see the full description. Then you can check the link next to Model as seen in video, click on it, and you will get to the proper page where you can see all the details. If you're watching on a mobile phone, you have to click on the arrow down on the right hand side below the video to see the full description. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up. If you would like to share this video with your friends, you can use the share button below and share it on any platform you like. If you have questions, constructive feedback, want to tell us about some mistakes or misspeaks, just write a comment below. If you want to see more videos like this, you should subscribe to our channel and visit our channel page where you can find all the videos. And if you're interested in a specific watch brand, you can check out our playlists. If you want to check the price for a watch or want to buy one, remember at jazztime.com you always get a steep discount, so you should check the prices with us. If you want to know the price for a specific watch, just go to Google, type in JazzTime, plus the brand, model and the details you're interested in, and Google will find the right page for you. Thank you for watching.